But this whole story about Comey, first of all, I don't know if you've heard Comey's testimony, but I think you need to hear his testimony. The description of this dime store novel. You know, by the way, Chris Matthews, there is no scene in The Godfather whatsoever. Not one, not Godfather 2, and definitely not Godfather 3. That is remotely like this scene that you imagine is in The Godfather. There's this one scene where Don Corleone is in the hospital, and Michael has to move his bed because they'll probably try and hit him in the hospital because he's defenseless. But there is no scene in The Godfather where, there is a scene in The Pelican Brief, however. Maybe that's what he's thinking of. I would be Darby Shaw in that movie. I would be Darby Shaw. But there's no scene in The Godfather. But anyway, this scene that Comey actually paints with his sworn testimony in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee is so unbelievable that I need to play it for you once again. I played it yesterday, but I only played it once, and we need to do this again. I just want you to hear what happened that night. This is sworn testimony, Tony Snow. This is not water cooler chat. This is not, let's go have a dinner and drink some wine and talk about our colleagues. No, this is sworn testimony about a night that James Comey will never forget, and apparently Alberto Gonzales will never remember.
The Attorney General was taken that very afternoon to George Washington Hospital, where he went into intensive care and remained there for over a week, and I became the acting Attorney General. That night was probably the most difficult night of my professional life, so it's not something I forget. Mrs. Ashcroft reported that a call had come through, and that as a result of that call, Mr. Card and Mr. Gonzalez were on their way to the hospital to see Mr. Ashcroft. Told my security detail that I need to get to George Washington Hospital immediately. They turned on the emergency equipment and drove very quickly to the hospital. I got out of the car and literally ran up the stairs with my security detail. I was concerned that, given how ill I knew the Attorney General was, that there might be an effort to ask him to overrule me when he was in no condition to do that. And I immediately began speaking to him, trying to orient him as to time and place, and try to see if he could focus on what was happening. And it wasn't clear to me that he could. He seemed pretty bad off. And Director Mueller instructed the FBI agents present not to allow me to be removed from the room under any circumstances. And I went back in the room. They came over and stood by the bed, greeted the Attorney General very briefly, and then Mr. Gonzalez began to discuss why they were there, to seek his approval for a matter. And as he laid back down, he said, "But that doesn't matter because I'm not the Attorney General. There is the Attorney General," and he pointed to me when I was just to his left. The two men did not acknowledge me. They turned and walked from the room. I responded that after the conduct I had just witnessed, I would not meet with him without a witness present. He replied, "What conduct? We were just there to wish him well." And I said again, after what I just witnessed, I will not meet with you without a witness, and I intend that witness to be the Solicitor General of the United States. The program was reauthorized without us, without a signature from the Department of Justice attesting as to its legality, and I prepared a letter of resignation intending to resign the next day, Friday, March the 12th. I couldn't stay if the administration was going to engage in conduct that the Department of Justice had said had no legal basis. I simply couldn't stay.
Nothing this administration could do would surprise me. And then every day, they surprise me. Every day. And what had Comey and Ashcroft so concerned about this program? We don't know to this minute. I mean, the DOJ says, the Department of Justice says that there was no one that they could find at the White House that could sign off or would sign off on this spy program. It was so illegal. And we don't know what it is. And we don't know what they have now. So I guess to have a real grasp of how far this spy program goes, you would probably have to be paranoid. Like them. So paranoid. I mean, it's like that attitude, they have a file on everybody. Well, the Bush administration really does have a file on everybody, but it's the Bush administration, So they're probably all mislabeled. It's exactly backwards. If we were really doing our jobs as citizens, we would have a file on everybody in the Bush administration and not the other way around. 16 after.
The Randi Rhodes Show, proving that if you tell the truth, you don't need OxyContin to face the day.
I am, in fact, sedated.
This is Air America Radio.